With the exciting announcement of Insomniac's Wolverine comes so many possibilities for the character in the form of a video game. Now, it's not that Wolverine's never gotten a game before. I often point to the very underrated hack and slash X-Men Origins Wolverine game, which has got to be the biggest divide in terms of game to movie quality wise, for being really good when the movie is really but this company, Insomniac, they have proven themselves over and over again through other creations, Ratchet and Clank, and more recently, of course, Marvel's Spider-Man. So allowing them to take a crack at Wolverine, especially after how they handled Spider-Man with the complexity of his character writing, the gameplay style uniqueness, and just a wonderful city to explore, along with some of my favorite cosmetics in video games, it is great to see those possibilities opened up to Logan as well. If you enjoy what you see here today, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more content. We are going to be covering this game, and I've got plenty of top 5s about it because, ooh, I am excited. But let's hop right into 5 of the best Wolverine costumes that I want to see in Insomniac's Marvel's Wolverine. That's a mouthful. Number 5. The first one is actually the classic. This is the first appearance of Wolverine. He has a much more cat-like look, a unibrow going on there very clearly. He is very clearly inspired just by a jungle cat look. You can even see the whiskers coming out of his nose. This was the, I would say, you know, this was the classic. This isn't what a lot of people think of for the classic, though. A lot of people think of the main suit from the 90s and 80s as the classic, but this was where he started. His claws are very pronounced on the outside of his blue gloves. You can see claw marks around his torso area, a massive red belt with the biggest belt buckle of all time. Like, I'm talking this thing is huge. You could put your whole fist through Wolverine's belt buckle here. And, of course, he's rocking the tights. Now, there's not a lot to say about this look other than it being, obviously, the classic Wolverine, and having sort of a charm to it that harkens back to when the character first popped up. For being a game that is very clearly going to be, I guess, what would you say, focused around celebrating what makes Wolverine who he is, who this Wolverine is, the Insomniac one, and what his story is in the world, it only makes sense for them to harken back to the original, much like Spider-Man was able to do so with many of his costumes. Number 4. It's the 4th one.
4.
Number 4 is one that might look a little weird on a video game character, but it is one that I truly believe that they could pull off and play nice with to get it done. That is X3, X-Men United's Wolverine. Now, we are not sitting here debating the quality of this film. However, a couple of years ago, I would have said that even if this game was coming out, which it never would have because Disney was very clearly ignoring the X-Men pretty hardcore, considering that they made almost no toys for them after a certain point. This is something that I truly do believe could be made today, because Insomniac was able to play nice with Sony's past Spider-Man suits to bring us the Amazing Spider-Man 1 suit and the Raimi webbed suit in Marvel's Spider-Man. So with that said, I do believe this in practicality can be done if Disney is willing to acknowledge these movies, which I will say they more recently did in terms of actually releasing Funko Pops for them, but I digress. This suit is iconic to me. This is the Wolverine I grew up with in my childhood. The X-Men films were some of my introductions to superheroes in general. I would not be a fan of what I am today without those original X-Men movies and those original Raimi Spider-Man movies. They were really a gateway for me to get into these characters. Wolverine here is rocking a black, stylish, and sleek leather look. It is very clearly a leather jacket. It is a two-piece, probably more than that, but essentially a jacket with pants, separate boots, and also gloves. He's able to push his claws out straight through the gloves, and he is rocking an X on his chest, which is yellow highlights, but it is still the black leather material. Very hard to describe this one because it's a little abstract. He still has a belt look on him, but the belt now has an X. And this is a suit that I know has frustrated many fans of the comics, especially when this sort of look was adapted for Logan in the Ultimate Universe, but I still think that it is one of his best, especially with how they are able to slick his hair back to look like the original Wolverine comics character, and also a form of his mask without it being on him. This is one that rocks and looks great. I obviously do not expect the likeness of Hugh Jackman, the hugest of acts as I always call him, in the game because, let's be honest, they're probably not going to pay him to do that, but I still think that this would look great on another character, assuming they model Wolverine's face well, which Insomniac is known for doing. Number three. The third one I have is a little bit of a deep cut, but some of my fellow 90s kids will know what I'm talking about because this was sort of a 2000s renaissance for the X-Men characters on screen, and that is X-Men Evolution. I almost said X-Men Origins, and I must have been having like some kind of war flashbacks here after talking about that movie before, but X-Men Evolution is a really interesting suit. It's not exactly that it's super duper unique, it's not, but it's a spin on multiple classic Wolverine suits combined together and modernized for the television screen with the X-Men Evolution cartoon, which, by the way, check it out if you haven't seen it. Very, very good show. It is orange, it is black, it has an X belt on the center, or like right beneath his torso, obviously where a belt goes, I'm losing my mind, and it is a very strapping suit as well, pun intended, as you can see that there are straps with the boots and in other places as well. This suit is interesting. I really like how it also has a hood feature in it, where his mask comes off and goes down into a hood that he can pull back up. Many of the suits have this, but it is worth pointing out with this suit that it always stood out to me personally, and I always thought that this was a good mixture between a Wolverine who is still scary and feral, but also who can work together with the X-Men. This is a Wolverine who is very much maturing over the course of the show, who is able to work together with these, Professor X obviously was his mentor during this, but he was also able to work together with these students as well to help them as he grew as a character too. He does have some interesting, details on this suit. There still is sort of an X accent, but it's more of a V now in his torso as well. And it's worth noting that he does have the classic gap between his shoulders where the suit ends, almost like a short sleeve t-shirt, and a bit of a comically oversized pair of gloves that his claws come out of. I always loved this suit. I think it would be great to go back to this look and really show people this look from the 2000s, because this is a show that was fantastic, very stylish, all of the characters looked very good, and it definitely deserved more love than it got. It has pretty much been lost to time, and it would be great to see Insomniac dig up a piece of this show in their upcoming game. Number two, the numero dos. The next one I have is another have to play nice with Fox one, and I know, Jay, why are you talking about Fox? I hate the Fox movies, right? Some people are going to say. Personally, I really like a lot of the Fox X-Men movies. Again, I've always said I grew up with them. But this suit in particular, even if you don't like it, the movies, might just interest you, and that is the classic Wolverine suit that Hugh Jackman was never able to wear in the movies. There was never a full mock-up of this suit, to my knowledge, in terms of an entire designed suit, yet the main pieces that we got to see were the cowl and the gloves. We got to see those two parts. The cowl is very obviously designed after classic Wolverine, not his first appearance, but the 80s-ish, 90s-ish yellow look. This character design is really cool from what we get to see, and I would have loved to see it in the movies, but now is the possibility for us to see what a full mock-up of this could have been. There's multiple ways to take it too. I have seen artist renditions of this, which are, by the way, almost never credited on the websites that report them, so it's very hard for me to even find the original artist. If you find the original artist for this picture, please tell me in the comments. But there are a lot of different possibilities of design for this costume because of what we got to see, and it would allow Insomniac to do one of two things. One is they could correct a mistake made by the X-Men movies and actually go back and revive this look and show us what we could have had, or 2, they could design it themselves. They do have the building blocks and the pieces here, as well as the Fox movies to work off of to design a full suit, and it would be really amazing to see a more technical and armored looking version of this classic Wolverine look as we get to see in this cowl. Number 1!
Splat.
Finally, at the last one, speaking of armored, it is one of my favorite suits for Wolverine, although it was a weird time for him in the comics back in the 2010s, I believe around 2013, 2014. This was the Ablation armor for Wolverine. Now this is one of my favorite looks, like I said, very yellow and black, however sometimes looking orange and black depending on the one, whoever's coloring and drawing it, and 2, the lighting around the character in the comics. But this is from a point where Wolverine lost his healing factor for a short time. After teaming up with a superior Spider-Man, he was able to get a new suit courtesy of said Spider-Man, which was more armored in it, and it was able to protect Logan from a wide variety of possible damage and injury. Because without that healing factor, Wolverine's combat style would have to drastically change. He could no longer just sprint head-on into gunfire without ending up in the ICU or dead. Wolverine, with this suit, he had a lot of armor around his joints. He had still flexibility as well, but he was very, very protected in order to stop any kind of damage to him that would put him out of commission or kill him. It's also worth noting too that something we would probably not see with this suit, but is interesting, is the fact that his claws in this suit are not his actual claws. They are sort of a pseudo claw or a mock-up claw in order to protect him. So there were spots in this suit for claws to come out that he could use, which would allow him to keep his normal claws in his arms, because you wouldn't want to have multiple stab wounds coming out of your hands every time you got into a fight if they couldn't heal. If you think about it, Wolverine's powers actually really suck without a healing factor. So when it comes down to it, he needed these claws to come out of the suit itself and not out of his hands. So there would be a way also to make the claws for this suit look a little unique and interesting, which is something that I think is really cool and a possibility with any of these suits, as long as Insomniac could make it look good enough that you didn't have some of these claws phasing or clipping through walls or anything in photo mode, which I'm sure they will include. There's a lot of possibility to that as well. So these are 5 suits that I want to see in the upcoming Marvel's Wolverine, almost said Marvel Spider-Man, but we have that to be excited for as well in the sequel. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. What are some suits you would want to see? Do you agree with these picks? Do you not? What do you like? What do you not? I always want to know that. And hey, what is your favorite Wolverine look from the comics or from a movie? Because I do plan to cover this again. I do believe that there is at least 1 or 2 more suits videos for Logan that I could certainly do, because he is such an iconic character with a wide wardrobe of lots of things, and I'm not body shaming him. He's just got a lot of outfits. Let me know what you think down there. Have a fantastic day, everyone. If you enjoyed what you saw here, please be sure to leave a like, subscribe for more content. I appreciate you so much. Check out everything in the description down below. It helps us out a ton. We have a Patreon down there. We have also a secondary channel, Degenerate Plays, where we hang out with you and play video games and talk, and a lot of other wonderful stuff. Have a fantastic day, and as always, everyone, stay shway.